How do you prepare to go see John?
So his assistant called me the following week, I believe it was, and said, "Can you come tomorrow?" And
So the assistant gets a call from the FBI or from the New York cop?
for me, I called the assistant, and I just said, "My name is Bob. I work for the FBI in New York. I heard this guy on the radio. He claims he could connect to people on the other side. Well, I've got a case. I'm looking for a missing person. I want to put him on the phone with the family members. He can do his thing, and maybe he can help me." That was all they knew. And I could hear some hesitation in his assistant's voice at the time. And she said, "Well, he doesn't really do this, but I'll talk to him." And it was about a week, maybe 2 weeks later, she calls me and said, "Hey, John says, can you come tomorrow?"
So before that, you get a call. Your assistant comes to you, John, and says there's FBI. Because I asked you, I said, "Do you do this?" You said, "I don't do this."
I don't.
Why did you take this call?
There was an urgency in how the message was delivered to me. So I don't know. I feel like there was this sense of duty. I don't know. I had this, I guess, I mean, we talk about it in the book as we go through to the end of the story of like maybe early on, what was the trigger for me to do this? And I think it has to do with my dad being a New York City cop. And
yeah, I learned that too. Your dad is a New York City cop. Your name, John Edward, is just your first and second name because he doesn't even want you to use his name. He doesn't want to sully the family name
correct.
with this silliness of being a psychic.
So before I officially became John Edward, the only time that I was ever called John Edward was from my mother when I was in trouble. So I kind of felt like, well, if I'm going to be doing this publicly and professionally, I'm going to be, called out for things. I'm used to hearing that, so it should be fine. And plus, it kept the name in my vibration. I mean, now it's officially my name, but yeah, my dad didn't want me using his name. Do not sully your name, and don't let me find out that
What is your real last name?
McGee.
McGee. So right now, Mr. McGee, and I believe it, is listening and watching and is very proud.
Yeah,
and
because he's now in a realm where I can communicate with him.
You can communicate.
Right.
And are you saying I told you so?
No, actually, I think the I told you so's are never useful when it comes to people who have passed. I think the I told you so's are much more useful when it comes to the mirror. Because the self-acceptance and understanding of something that we've accomplished or done, we can be the only person to applaud our actions. We shouldn't be looking to externalize our grief. We shouldn't be looking to externalize our accolades. And I think for me, working with Bob, the journey for me in Chasing Evil was recognizing, number one, that I didn't know that I was on some level seeking patriarchal acceptance, that I didn't know I needed it, because to me, I did the work. I did the work on understanding my upbringing. I knew that he had an issue with an alcohol problem. I knew what the issues were with my parents. I was able to see very clearly that there was a codependence there. And I went no contact when I got older after my mom died. I was like, nope, this is not healthy for me. I did the work. I created the boundaries. I understood the energy. I knew the astrology of it. Like, I was good. And then the universe went, are you though? Are you really good? Okay, so we're going to send in this guy. And
who also has a very similar upbringing and a very similar relationship with his father. You learn in the book, because this is not only a book of cases and death and evil, and you will just be blown away. And this is what I loved about the book. I end up loving you guys, and I end up saying, I was just asking your manager there, like, you guys, it's a movie. They should get the movie rights, because you're an unlikely pair, but you are very, very similar. And the way you came at it, it's an amazing story.
But we didn't know any of that in the beginning. That was the transformation in the journey. Like, he approached me like any other case, and I approached him like every other reading.
Had you never gotten cops calling you before?
Not like directly. Like, I had one case where I did a reading for a family, and there was a homicide in Florida, and I gave information to the family, and the mom of one of the victims said, "That's not true. That's not true." And I'm like, "Ma'am, I can only tell you what I'm being shown." She goes, "Well, I'm going to go tell the investigators on the case." I said, "Okay." And the next morning, the investigators called me and they said, only somebody at the crime scene would know what you told them, and that information has not been revealed to the family or the press because it's an active investigation. So they flew up to New York to actually talk to me. So that was one example. There were a couple of other sporadic moments where stuff like this happened, but we're talking like 0.5% of 100 of where my attention was focused. I legitimately didn't want to ever have to deal with my father saying, I told you not to do that. You have a respect for the uniform. And he wore a double uniform. He was a police officer. He was a military guy. that was the place that he came
And he
from.
made fun of psychics. He said that the body's always near the water. The body's always near a tree. The earth is 90% water, so
Yeah.